Hey, what's going on, you guys? So today in this video is going to be, as you read the title, about some ice out lures. Basically what that means is when the ice comes out and it's gone, what lures I use. Now these are all lures that I have had luck on, or I know for a fact will work from past experiences and also some videos and stuff like that. So, also, what was I going to say? Oh, the weather for the past few days. Hang on a minute. Where's it at? 1 second. There it is. Sorry, my shirt might have blinded you guys because it's so yellow. But let me check the weather real quick. So, that way you guys can see exactly what the weather is here in Illinois. Or here where I'm at anyway. Let me pause this so I can go ahead and get back to it. Alrighty, you guys. Now, I actually have the weather up, thanks to Google not being very fast. Okay, so the reason why I'm kind of excited for the next few days is it really starts Thursday, and it keeps going until next Thursday. Next Thursday is supposed to get colder, but for the next few days, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be still cold, but Thursday's high is 50. Friday's high is 52. Then it's going to be 50 again on Saturday. 47 on Sunday. And then it's supposed to start getting colder again. Then it gets back up to 54. So that kind of is letting me know that it is going to get warmer. You know, it's going to start getting a little bit more warmer now. Of course, it's not going to be like all the ice gone, even though I would love that to happen. That would be awesome. But it does mean that it's going to get warmer soon. So I thought I'd make this video just because of the ice is starting to get out. And, you know, some places down south, the bass are starting to bite better because of that. I heard that down south it's getting a little bit warmer. But I've also heard that in some places it's still quite cold. Like over in Nebraska and places like that, it's still quite cold. But here in Illinois, the next few days, like I said, are going to be in the lower 50s, upper 40s for highs, and they're going to be down in the lower 40s and 30s for lows. So it's going to be kind of it warms up a little bit during the day, but then it gets really cold again. It's going to be an up and down week, definitely. So I thought I'd make this video anyway, just because, why not, you know? So there's two ways to fish this time of the year. Not really exactly this time. Usually around here, it kind of starts in early March when you can finally get out there and fish for a while. I think it was it was last year. March 23rd was my birthday, and I actually finally got to go fishing on my birthday because of the year before. I wasn't able to because it was like a weekday and I had to do school and all that. But it was a Saturday last year, so I was able to go fishing and caught actually quite a few fish. I caught like 4 or 5 on a brown jig, sort of like the one I have here. I don't have the exact brown jig because it's over in the shop where I usually do my videos on one of my rods. But I do have these baits here. So like I said, there's two ways of catching bass. There's big baits, and then there's littler baits. That's the way I like to fish. Now, there is a couple that are just normal baits, but a couple of them are smaller, and most of them are bigger. I always like to use bigger baits just so I could target a little bit better sized fish. Now, one of my favorite baits, now this here is just one that I've grabbed out of my tackle box. I have more little jigs like this, but this was just the one that I grabbed, and it is a finesse jig. This is in green pumpkin, orange color. It's like called pumpkin, green pumpkin or something like that. But it is a good little jig. Also, it does not have a weed guard. It actually came like that. And I'm pretty sure this is actually a discontinued lure because I've only seen one. And I've Googled this company quite a few times and have never even seen a picture of one without a weed guard. So I'm pretty sure that this is a discontinued bait. That's something in my eye. Okay. But yeah, this here is a Terminator finesse jig. It's got a really good hook on it. It's got like a 4 or 5 aught hook. So that there's one of the finesse baits. Then one of my, probably my favorite finesse baits. Now these are obviously baits that you throw more on a spinning rod than a bait caster. Some of these baits you would throw on a bait caster because they are heavier, but these smaller baits you throw on a spinning rod, like this one here, this little 2.75 inch Strike King Rage swimmer. Probably one of my favorite little swim baits because it's just so tiny and it fits a 1/8 ounce jig head perfectly, and it still has a lot of action. Another bait that is good, I can't remember the name of this company, but I actually have the trailer, the same bait on this jig, and it's a little bitty crawl. It's a very small crawl imitator. And something else, if you ever find this crawl, whatever brand it is, I'm pretty sure that it's either Big Bite Baits or Yum. It's one of the two, because when I first started bass fishing, I bought a lot of those two companies, and this was one of the first crawl baits I actually bought. So I'm pretty sure it's either Big Bite Baits or Yum. But one thing you want to do is you take off the antenna, because the antenna will mess with the claws a lot. It'll tangle them up and it just won't really work right. So I just usually leave about maybe a 1/4 inch left on it and then leave the rest of it alone. This is on a, I'm pretty sure this is a 3/8 ounce shaky head, football head, shaky head. It's a really good hook, really good head, and it's got like a screw lock thing, so it keeps your bait on there really well. Actually, quite a while back, I found one of those that I lost myself back many months ago, like in the springtime, that I actually the line just decided to snap for some reason. I wasn't even fighting a fish. I was just reeling the bait in and it just fell off. And I actually found the bait again when I was dragging a jig, and I actually found the bait keeper still had the worm on it, even though the worm was just trashed. But the bait keeper still had the worm on it, which I thought was pretty cool, because usually bait keepers don't really work that well. Now another bait that works really well, that is a very finesse bait. You can tell it's a finesse bait because I have it on my spinning rod. This is my favorite spinning rod. And that is the little tube. Oh, be good. Let me get it off of here. Is the little tube that I actually caught that fish in my pond a while back on. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check out that video. It's pretty cool. But yeah, little bitty tube. These are Yum Bitsy, like teeny tiny tubes. And this is actually a 1/8 ounce jig head in it. The same size jig head that's on that that swim bait I showed you just a second ago. And it fits it really well. And you don't want a jig that has a short hook, because if you have one with a short hook, it will not want to fit right on the tube. But you don't want one with a long hook to where even if they just nip it, they'll get hooked, because that's, in my opinion, that's kind of cheating. You want to have a good hook because it's a long shank and it will hook them good, but you don't want to be having a hook this long with a tube that's this long. It's just kind of cheating. Move that one. Okay. Then just my normal baits. Now my normal baits actually don't consist of very many. There are only 3 normal size baits that aren't like finesse or just big. And one is a shaky head with a trick worm. Same head as the crawl with just a trick worm. Now this here is a watermelon trick worm, but one of my favorite colors is actually the pumpkin trick worm. Now this here is actually just a 3-inch pumpkin colored trick worm on a not a trick worm, it's a tube on a 1/8 ounce jig head. Also, if you've noticed, a lot of the jig heads I use are 1/8 ounce. Now this one here is actually one, oops, the bait fell off of the table here. Anyway, now if you guys use boats, this bait here is mainly for you guys that use boats, or if you guys have a lot of docks that go way out in the water, that have like 15 feet of water underneath of them. This bait is more for you guys. Now this here is actually what they call a dimiki rig, but it's oversized. It's a lot bigger than the normal dimiki rig, so I call it a Mako rig. It's just kind of a name I created for this rig, and this here is a 1/4 ounce jig head with just a fluke, just a normal size fluke, not the junior fluke, not the super fluke, just a normal a normal fluke, just a regular size. And I call that the Mako rig because it's not a dimiki rig. It's just a bigger version of it, basically. But it is a really good killer. I've caught fish with it. You can also use worms, trick worms, speed worm type baits, stick worms, all of that. You can use those too, but a fluke is just too good, in my opinion, on one of these rigs. It looks really good. It looks like a dying bait fish, and it catches some big fish. Then we're going to get into the bigger stuff. Now, mainly the bigger stuff consists of 8 to 10 inch worms, but there is some things that are a little bit different. And I just dropped another bait. Where'd it go? There it is. But there is some other things that aren't worms that are big, but they still catch big fish. And if you hear a dog barking, sorry about that. It's my mom's dog, and he does not be. He's her dog, and he only listens to her. And he will not be quiet for myself. I don't know why. He's just, I don't know. But these here are actually some crawfish that I found a long time ago. And I actually made a video unboxing these. These are Jean LaRue salt craws, and they're big. They're like, I think they're like 4.5 or 5 inches. And they are big. Now this here is a 1/8 ounce wobble head, but I prefer to use these on a shaky head. This is just a wobble head that I already had it rigged with, but a shaky head, sort of like the 1/8 ounce shaky head this one here's on, works really good with these type of craws. Now, if you haven't noticed, a lot of these baits are either craw imitators, shad imitators, or big worm imitators. Now, the reason for that is bass will eat craws and shad a lot more during this time of the year. And they won't really focus much on bluegill. I don't know why, but it's something that I've actually seen a lot of fishing YouTubers touch on, that bluegill kind of take a back seat in the bass's food chain, basically. Let me check the time real quick on this video. 12:15. Alright, I think I got enough time to do this. There will be a second video coming out the same day you're watching this, hopefully, about an unboxing that I just got some baits in today with. So, yeah, make sure you look for that. But this here is a big jig. This is a 1 ounce Strike King Denny Broward structure jig. It's a 1 ounce bait with a full rodent on it. And it's in hard candy color, and it's just a big, bulky jig. And it will catch some big fish as well. That is another kind of a bigger version of other smaller baits that I like to throw personally, just because they catch some big bass. And of course, you know, any bass fisherman will tell you catching a big bass is a lot more fun than catching a couple small ones. I'd rather catch one 5-pounder over 5 1-pounders. But that's just me. Then you got these here, the big worms, the 8-inch worms. Now, I put a lot of 8-inch worms up here just because that's what I've caught fish on. But there's also a single 10-inch worm, which is the old monster made by Zoom. I have caught one fish on this during ice out, and it does catch some pretty good sized fish. My cousin actually caught a giant bluegill with one of those, actually. It was a 1 pound, 11 ounce bluegill. I don't know what in the world it was trying to do with that big worm, but it was. Now, shaky heads is not something I normally throw with a big worm like this, but it is something that works. This is the same 1/8 ounce jig head as the other ones. Now, what I do normally throw with these baits, I don't have the hook that I normally throw, because the hook I normally throw is over there in the shop on one of my rods, but this is the same type of bullet weight I normally throw with these big worms. This is an 8-inch bullworm with a 1/2 ounce lead bullet weight. I use lead because it's cheaper. You can buy like a pack of 6 for like 88 cents, and they're not $12 for 2, like tungsten. Lead is what I usually use, and I've caught a lot of fish doing it. So I hope you guys like this video. Make sure you stay tuned for part 2. I'm going to be unboxing some baits. It's not going to be as long as this one. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.